Kefir helps to address basically all of those issues because it's providing the probiotics to repopulate your gut, right? So again, there are dozens of different strains that are good for you. And then these strains are aggressive, right? So they're survivable, they're adaptable, and they're aggressive. They help to keep the bad microbes, so to say, they help to keep those in check. So for just about any condition, physical or mental, etc., I would always recommend kefir every day on a daily basis. I mean, it's the one thing I try to drink daily.
From the Weston A. Price Foundation, welcome to the Wise Traditions podcast for wise traditions in food, farming, and the healing arts. We are your source for scientific knowledge and traditional wisdom to help you achieve optimal health.
Hey everybody, I'm your host Hoda Labrada Gore. This is episode 215 and our guest today is Victor Cozzetto. Victor is the founder of Vitagenics, a small collaborative of doctors and healers that care about wellness. Victor himself graduated summa cum laude from the Wise Traditions Nutrition program at Hawthorne University, and he is a kefir expert. Kefir, or kefir, if you prefer, is a fermented drink with traditional roots from Eastern Europe and the Middle East, and it is gaining ground here in the U.S. as a popular and powerful probiotic healing drink. Victor tells us today how he delivered kefir to his father when he was fighting C. diff, that small intestinal bacterial infection that is very hard to resolve. He talks about where kefir comes from, the differences between kefir from dairy and kefir made from sugar water, and what makes kefir so very beneficial for all of us. Finally, he actually explains how we can make it ourselves. Before we get into it, a quick shout out to our sponsors. Grass-fed tallow by Ancestral Supplements. Ancestral Supplements makes New Zealand-sourced, nose-to-tail organ meats, bone marrow, and tallow in simple, convenient gelatin capsules. Consuming tallow supports fertility, hormone health, and provides nourishment for growth and development, which means healthy bones, teeth, gums, and skin. Visit ancestralsupplements.com today to see what they can do for you. Ancestral Supplements, putting back in what the modern world has left out. And you guys, I just got the most wild idea. Since it is the 20th anniversary of the Weston A. Price Foundation, I thought we should celebrate old school style by sending cards to the office. Would you like to do that? I haven't mentioned it yet to Sally. I want her to be surprised, but I think it would be so wonderful to thank her, since she's the president of the Weston A. Price Foundation, and the foundation itself for the work that's been done and how it's changed our lives, right? So let's flood the office with these babies. Our address can be found on the website, and thanks in advance. This is Holistic Hilda, and you're listening to Wise Traditions. Welcome to Wise Traditions, Victor.
Hi, Hilda. Thank you for having me.
I am excited to touch on this topic of this amazing food, and I want to begin with the story of your father who was sick in the hospital. Tell us what kefir did for him.
Yes, so he was suffering from C. diff, which is very difficult to get rid of. And many people suffer from this when they are admitted to a hospital and have to stay there, and then they end up contracting C. diff. And it sometimes takes a long time to get rid of it. And I just started bringing him kefir, or kefir, however you prefer to pronounce it. And I just started bringing in bottles of it every day and had him drink it. And within a couple of days or so, the C. diff was gone. And
what did the medical professionals say to that?
Well, they were surprised, but they really did not care about what I was doing. So, I'm not allowed to interfere or bring in things that are not approved. So in that case, though, it was okay. I wasn't doing anything illegal. I was allowed to bring him food, so yeah.
Now, how did you know that would be a good food to bring him, Victor?
Oh, I had been doing research on kefir for, I don't know how long at that time. I can't remember clearly. But I had seen or read about other people using it to battle C. diff and all kinds of other infections and such. It's just a super powerful probiotic. It's maybe debatable, but I guess we could say it's the most powerful probiotic food that you can get.
How did you come across it?
Oh, wow, that's a good question. I'm not sure if I can remember exactly. I think just doing my research for general about food and the Weston Price Foundation, I don't remember if I found it in their writings or elsewhere. Yeah, I'm sorry, the exact moment I discover it eludes me. But it's been a long, it's
It
been a
wasn't
long
like
time.
a little Kefir light bulb went off over your head, like, this is it.
No, it was a little bit slower. I just kept reading about it. So for the first 40 years of my life or more, I was completely ignorant of it. I had no idea. I had never heard of it. And then suddenly within, it's less than 10 years ago, it kept popping up. As I got exposed more and more to ancestral health, and the more I dug into it, it kept popping up, and then I just kept reading about it more and more, and it was so fascinating to me. So I just kept doing more research and hearing about more and more benefits. I was like, wow, this is really unbelievable.
So take it from the top for those of us who are ignorant about this product and its origins. Can you give us some of the history of kefir?
Oh, sure. Well, it has a very, very long history, thousands of years. We're not exactly sure of the origin, but supposedly it comes from the Caucasus, like Eastern Europe, where the people would travel with kefir in their pouch and just continuously adding raw milk into their pouches and then drinking it. And it's this ferment, it looks like rubber cauliflower. And so like for people that are familiar with kombucha.
Hold on.
Oh, go ahead.
That does not sound very appetizing.
Yes. It doesn't look very appetizing either. But when we call it the kefir grains, which is really a SCOBY. If you're familiar with kombucha, they use the word SCOBY. And that word fits perfectly to the kefir grains because it is a symbiotic colony of bacteria and yeast. And so they live together and work together. And they form this, it looks like rubber cauliflower. And then you put like a spoonful of that in a cup of raw milk, preferably raw milk. So you put that in milk and then it ferments the milk, anywhere from 12 to 48 hours. 24 hours is kind of ideal. Room temperature is ideal. And there's like dozens of these different strains of bacteria and yeast that are working together. And it's very potent.
And so you said it doesn't look appetizing. What does it taste like?
It tastes like a yogurt drink. And the drink itself looks like a yogurt drink. It'll be kind of thick and creamy. It might be lumpy, it depends. It might look like curds and whey separating if you've over fermented it. When it's finished, when it's ready, you know that it has fermented enough when it starts to separate into the curds and whey.
And you talked about traditional peoples traveling with it in a pouch. What other ancestral practices were there in relation to kefir?
Oh, yeah, you can use it to even like ferment your meat or marinate your meats. You can use it to make bread. You can use it for so many different things. So I'm not sure about all, how far all the different practices go back. So it's generally speaking, they just drank it straight like that. But if you do a second ferment, if you add fruit to it, for example, like bananas or mango or some citrus fruit, you get a lot of additional nutrition out of it. It actually creates more vitamins because it then ferments the fruit that you add to it. And so you'll get a different set of vitamins. You'll get vitamin C, you'll get additional B vitamins.
Now, I was at a friend's lovely real food restaurant out in California recently, and she served kefir water, which did not taste like a yogurt drink. It was a little bit, it was reminiscent of kombucha to me. Is that a different thing?
Yes, it is. I'm so glad you mentioned that because water kefir is not the same as milk kefir. And they're completely different. It's a completely different set of microbes that are fermenting the water and sugar based, right? So for water kefir, they'll start with basically like water and white sugar, or you can use fruit juices and such. But it's completely different. It's also very good. Kombucha also is very good. These are good probiotics. However, kefir is much more powerful for a lot of different reasons. So not the same, very different.
Okay, thank you for that clarification.
Oh, my pleasure.
So I feel like there's this huge emphasis nowadays on our microbiome and a healthy gut. Do you think kefir has a role in that?
Oh, yes, absolutely. Absolutely. That's one of the things that really for me, it made it the top priority to keep in my diet all the time. And it's always my number one recommendation because, right, the gut biome, as we learn more and more, is so important for so many things, for our immune system, etc. And most of us have a compromised gut or a leaky gut. We have so many different issues. And kefir helps to address basically all of those issues because it's providing the probiotics to repopulate your gut, right? So again, there are dozens of different strains that are good for you. And then these strains are aggressive, right? So they're survivable, they're adaptable, and they're aggressive. They help to keep the bad microbes, so to say, they help to keep those in check. So for just about any condition, physical or mental, etc., I would always recommend kefir every day on a daily basis. I mean, it's the one thing I try to drink daily.
Victor, I know you're not a doctor, but have you seen people who have helped heal their gut lining using kefir?
I would say I cannot say just 100% only from the kefir. Usually there's bone broth involved, so I'm always recommending both, right?
Bone broth as the accomplice to kefir's work.
Yes, right. So the bone broth, I think, is really the key for healing the gut lining. But we have so many issues in the gut, and the kefir definitely contributes because it provides so many metabolites. It's not only a probiotic. So the probiotic content is only one part of the equation, right? We need all the vitamins and minerals and many other metabolites to help repair the gut lining. And I don't have any specific stories because I have never, and I wouldn't recommend solely depending on any one thing. As much as I love kefir, I would still recommend a more holistic approach to any kind of healing. So as good as it is, for myself, I have no stories where it's only kefir that heals the gut.
Well, and and I think we all are looking for that one little pill or that one thing we need to do. And it's not quite that simple all the time, is it?
Yes, so it's true. We are all looking for that magic bullet or just a pill, one single solution. And while I don't believe in that, I believe kefir is the closest you can get to it. I think it is arguably the single most important thing for just about any ailment we have because it provides us with so much. So not in pill form either, which I like because you're actually drinking it. It's a food, and it's a fun, delicious food on top of that.
Coming up, Victor discusses the difference between getting our probiotics from foods compared to those we can get from pills. He also gives us a little primer on how to make this amazing food and share it with others.
You're listening to the Wise Traditions podcast from the Weston A. Price Foundation. We pause now to recognize our sponsors.
This episode is brought to you by grass-fed tallow by Ancestral Supplements. According to Cabeza de Vaca, the Native Americans are the people with the most well-formed bodies and of the greatest vitality and capacity. What kind of foods produced such fine physical bodies, which were well-formed, strong, resistant to disease, and cavity-free? All were based on the nose-to-tail dining and fat. They hunted the older animals because they had built up a thick slab of fat along the back. Our DNA evolved with the nourishment of liver, heart, kidney, pancreas, spleen, and a whole lot of fat. The fat was always saved, sometimes by rendering, stored in the paunch, bladder, or large intestine, and consumed with dried or smoked meat or pemmican. Used in this way, fat contributed almost 80% of total calories in the diets of the northern Indians. Most prized was the internal kidney fat of ruminant animals. Consuming tallow supports fertility, hormone health, and provides nourishment for growth and development, which means healthy bones, teeth, gums, and skin. So visit ancestralsupplements.com to see what they can do for you. Ancestral Supplements, putting back in what the modern world has left out. And hey, you guys, I have a fun idea. It is the 20th anniversary of the Weston A. Price Foundation. I think we should go old school and send the office thank you cards, or birthday cards, or anniversary cards, whatever it is. They're all appropriate. I haven't breathed a word of this to Sally, so I want to surprise her with these wonderful cards flooding the office, thanking her and the Weston Price Foundation for all of their great work. Our address is on the website if you want to do this, and it would be so appreciated. And if you don't have time to write a note, another way to show your thanks is just to click on the donate button on the website and give a gift of $20 in honor of this, the 20th anniversary of the foundation. It's an easy way to thank WAPF and keep the work going. Thanks in advance. This is Holistic Hilda, and you're listening to Wise Traditions. And so some people might say, well, I actually do just want to take a pill, and so I think I'd rather just take a probiotic pill. What would you tell someone who would prefer that over a kefir?
Wow. Yeah. So I would say it's great if you want to take a pill. Okay, that's a supplement. You are adding to something else you're already doing or you already have. Whereas kefir should really be the foundation. The pill is not going to be equal to the kefir. Now the pills can provide different probiotics that are not in the kefir. So I'm not against taking the pills. I think they can be great ways to augment and add additional probiotic strains. But the kefir provides you so much. And it has an impact on lifestyle change too. You know, the idea of you actually making your own super healthy food. You have a lot of power to control what's happening with the kefir. You control the flavor and the content. You know, and so I think it's kind of a great, like a gateway drug to the world of health.
Well, that's great to hear you say. I think of people who are gardening, and when they get started there's a sense of accomplishment and joy as they make something or watch something grow, yes, collaborating with nature. So in the same way, I'm guessing we would get that same feeling from making our own kefir.
Yes, that's a great example. In fact, I would take that example even another analogy. You think of your kefir grains almost as your pets. And you're raising them, because they grow all the time. So they're always growing, and then you can give away grains to other people or just blend in the extra. But yeah, it's a kind of a highly involved thing, which is good. It's something we want. We want to get people to be more involved with their food, right? We've become too disconnected, so we want to get more involved with it. So yeah, just like in gardening. Yeah, I think that's a great analogy. I like that. I haven't heard or used that before.
So I have a question for you. Let's say I'm ready to adopt a pet. I'm ready to get some grains, some kefir grains. Where would I get them? You can't just make these out of the blue, right?
You're right. Yeah, this is definitely the challenge. So it's best if you know somebody that has the grains. If not, there are a couple of online sources, and you really want to make sure you find the grains and not a powder. So there's no commercial motivation to sell kefir grains. You really can't make a profitable business. So people sell, or companies I should say, sell a powder which you cannot reuse forever. See, the thing is, once you get the grains, you never have to get them again because they keep growing. You just reuse them. So and there are, again, some places online where you can get them. And I don't want to just promote any specific place, but you do a search and you'll find some good places that you can get grains at. Or most people get them from someone they know. So I give grains to people quite often. And then years later, there are people that I gave grains to like 5 years ago that are still using them. I'm in Japan at the moment, so my family in New York has them, and I've given them to people in Costa Rica, etc. I've traveled the world with my grains, handing them out.
That's awesome. And I often liken these starter grains as like a sourdough starter, right?
Yeah, yes.
In other words, you have to get it from somewhere to make your bread.
Yes, exactly. Right, yes. At least with the sourdough starter, that is possible to make on your own.
That's true.
It's difficult, though. It's not easy, right? So usually people are getting it somewhere else. So yeah, that's another good example, Hilda. I like that, definitely.
All right, so let's say I have my grains. I guess it needs tending, right? It needs
yes.
For me to watch out for it. I can't just let my pet go hungry.
Right, exactly. So ideally, you would be feeding your pet every day, once a day. The ideal thing is to be on a 24-hour cycle with your kefir. However, if you can't do that, let's say you want to go on vacation or you just, you're going to miss a day or something, you just put the kefir grains into your refrigerator, and then they kind of sleep. They don't go completely dormant, but the fermentation process slows down a lot. And so if you put them in the refrigerator with fresh milk, they'll stay there for weeks. Again, ideally, you want to do it every 24 hours to keep it as part of your daily lifestyle also. And the grains, the bacterial balance, the bacterial yeast balance also stays best if they're done every 24 hours and they're kept at around room temperature or 20 to 25 degrees. But just put them to sleep. Let them hibernate in your refrigerator if you have to go away or you just can't do it every day. You know, not everybody can do it every day.
And then you can enjoy it as a beverage. And I imagine you can use it in other ways too, right?
Yes, absolutely. So, like even making ice cream from it, using it to make pancakes, making bread, soaking your oatmeal, tenderizing meat. And ironically, I don't really like to drink it straight. I prefer it as I make a shake. I blend it with fruits. And not only do I prefer the flavor much more, but it becomes a much more powerful drink, a much more powerful probiotic, because when you do a second ferment, meaning after the grains have fermented your milk, and then you take out that fermented milk, that kefir, your grains go into fresh milk, and then I put some fruit like a banana, maybe some banana and mango. I blend that into the kefir, and then I let that ferment for a little bit, anywhere from 4 to 8 hours, or I put it in the fridge for a few days, and then maybe I'll put half a lemon peel into it and let that ferment a little bit. And I'm just adding more probiotics and more vitamins, more minerals, etc., and flavor.
And it sounds amazing. So, Victor, my question is, why did yogurt and kombucha, why did these fermented foods get more popular than kefir? Why are they more well known?
Wow, I feel like that is the great mystery, Hilda. That's a very good question. Probably because they're easier to commercialize. We do see kefir now appearing in supermarkets and such. However, I don't really recommend that. I recommend it. It's better than nothing. But when you look at the things, the commercial products in stores, something like yogurt is easy to maintain a flavor, a consistent profile, because it only has 1 or 2 bacteria, maybe a few bacteria. And now we see the store-bought kefir, but that only has maybe 5 or 10 bacteria strains. At the most, I've seen up to 15. This is nothing when compared to the stuff you make at home, which can have, more than 60 different strains or species of bacteria and yeast. So there's a big difference. The commercialized products, they want to maintain their flavor profile and such. They want something that's easier to control, and so it's easier to do that with something that has less species of bacteria and yeast.
Yeah, a friend of mine told me when you get yogurt from the store, sometimes it's only fermented 24 hours.
You're right.
It's not fermented very long. And so it's a whole, like you said, it's a whole different product.
Yes. That issue that you mentioned with the time, we see with a lot of products like the Japanese natto, and other fermented foods. The commercial versions are not really fermented long enough, or not all of them. And so again, we're really not getting the same impact. They're not as powerful. Yeah.
Now I'm curious, because you said you were in Japan. How many countries have naturally included kefir or something like it in their diet?
Oh, wow, that's a really good question. In Japan, it is not really known. Kefir is not really here in Japan. So definitely not, it's not something that is popular or known in Asia. This really is Eastern European, Middle East. The Middle East and Eastern Europe is where it really is a cultural thing. But outside of that, South America has become more popular. I don't know for how long. I don't know how long the history goes back. But Asia, no.
Do you offer it to your guests when they come over, though?
Oh, yes, all the time.
And what do they think?
Well, they love it, depending on the flavor that I happen to be making. Because I'm always serving like a banana mango kefir, or banana peanut butter flavored kefir, or apple cinnamon, many different flavors. So most people like it. My daughter doesn't.
I'm not surprised. Oh, she doesn't?
No. It's I can't get a flavor that she likes. But it's very unusual, I think, to find someone that doesn't like it. And a lot of people like it straight. I mean, yogurt is very popular, right? Almost everyone eats yogurt. And straight kefir tastes like yogurt.
Well, I hope this conversation inspires people to first try it, second, maybe make it, And then third, follow in your footsteps by promoting it.
Oh, definitely. I would love to see more people promoting it. Yeah, it's just so great. I mean, it's loaded with enzymes, amino acids, vitamins, minerals, peptides, the probiotics. It's not just a probiotic. So I want more people to learn about it. It's so powerful. It gives your body so much of what it needs. And it's all natural. And hopefully you're starting it with raw milk.
Absolutely. You know what we'll do, Victor? We'll put links in the show notes with the videos that you've made about kefir and other resources as well, so people can pursue this on their own.
Excellent, excellent.
I want to ask you the question I often pose at the end. I know it's familiar to you. If the listener could do one thing to improve their health, what would you recommend that they do?
Yes, right. So I would say make your own kefir. Not just get kefir into your diet, but make your own kefir. As I mentioned, I think this is kind of a gateway to healthier living. Get involved with your kefir. And when you make it at home, it's so much more powerful than what you buy in a supermarket. So that's it. That would be my advice. Definitely make kefir and try to make the healthiest kefir you can. Try to get a hold of raw milk. Almost everybody can get raw milk nowadays, at least in the U.S., right? So availability is expanding.
And where there's a will, there's a way.
Yes, right, exactly. So look for those kefir grains, look for that raw milk, and then find a flavor that appeals to you. So if you think you don't like kefir, you just haven't found the flavor that you like. It's endless, and there are so many ways that you can use it.
All right, Victor, so you keep it up with your daughter, too, in that case.
Yes, for sure. I never give up. Absolutely.
You will find that flavor that she loves.
Thank you, Hilda.
All right, take care. Thank you, Victor.
Yeah, thank you so much. It's been a pleasure. Thank you again for everything you do.
Our guest today was Victor Cozzetto. You can find out more about Victor and his work at Vitagenics.net. You can find me at holistichilda.com. And for the show notes for this and every episode of the podcast, just visit our website, westonaprice.org, and click on the podcast page. And that's it. Thank you so much for listening, everybody, and see you next time.
On behalf of the Weston A. Price Foundation, thanks for listening. We have many free resources to support you on your health journey. Visit westonaprice.org to find podcasts, articles, videos, and more. You can also find a local chapter near you for help in finding sources of great food. We invite you to support the Foundation's mission of education, research, and activism by becoming a member. Thanks again, and take care. Wise Traditions is a project of the Weston A. Price Foundation for wise traditions in food, farming, and the healing arts. The content on this podcast is provided for informational purposes only and is not intended to substitute for the advice provided by your doctor or other healthcare professional. It is not intended to be, nor does it constitute healthcare or medical advice.